All right, everyone. Hello, hello. Welcome to tonight's Tradition Meets Innovation call. If you are new or if you're simply just new to TMI calls, my name is Angie. I'm the Product Training and Development Manager. Now, Tradition Meets Innovation, or TMI as I like to short it, is essentially a call we have on the third Wednesday of every month on the off seasons of Product University. Now, Product University in and of itself is, a round of educational tidbits. So that's an 8-week, once a week session where we go through in depth the brands, the product philosophies, and so much more. And we just finished up a fantastic product university round at the end of June. So Tradition Meets Innovation is back because we can't let the science lie. We can't let the science, go to the wayside while Product University is over. So with that in mind, Product University, if you are looking for announcements on that, we will continue to give updates on when the next rounds will come. But for today, we have a fantastic session in store. For those who did attend the Product University backwards in May and June, you may remember this topic. We are going through radiantsum versus dermatology. Even if you do remember it, it is a fantastic refresh because a lot of perceiving the Riemann difference is determining what skincare is right for you personally and also helping others to do the same. Now, if you don't see any of your team members on this call and you think this will be useful to them, make sure you send them the Zoom code because this is super helpful in understanding not only the Riemann products, but how to pick which ones are right because there are so many different options. So without further ado, I'm going to get started and share my screen. All right, so yes, today we are going through the Radiantsum offerings and the dermatology line. Now, I thought it was important we do this again. We've done this previously about a year ago because, of course, now we have new products, and these new products have not only new ingredients, but they have new claims to them as well. And sometimes I often get asked, what's the difference if this has exosomes and the Radiantsum 100 is liposomes? What are the difference between those delivery mechanisms? And so today we're going to break that all down in more detail. But to understand which road to take, whether you're taking the advanced routine with Radiantsum 100, the signature routine with the dermatology line, or perhaps a hybrid routine, you must first understand you or your client's skin type, So that's really at the core of beginning to understand your Riemann routine. And when I have individuals who email the ritual inbox, they always ask, what do you suggest for me? What should I be using? And it all starts with what your skin type is. Now, there are a variety of different skin types, and I've even added in one additional one that not traditionally is recognized. But to understand your skin type, it's typically recommended that you cleanse your skin and then apply nothing on it. After 30 minutes, address your skin. And based on how you perceive your skin, that ultimately gives you what your skin type is. So after those 30 minutes, if your skin feels like it is lacking oil, it is typically either dry or dehydrated. Now, dry skin, not only is it lacking oil content specifically, but it may feel tight after cleansing, and it can have either visible dullness, visible flaking, or roughness in sensory experience, otherwise an unsavory experience. But what's key to this is that I also added a second category, which is dehydrated skin. What's crucial about this is that it feels otherwise the same in regards to dry skin types, but it is specifically focused within the skin lacking water content. What's key in differentiating these two is it's ultimately going to determine what your skin needs. Does it need more oil or does it need more water? Now, in dehydrated skin, you're still going to have that dullness. It may also feel tight, may also have flaking, and oftentimes it is impossible to determine which one you have. And sometimes the only way in which you can determine which one you have is based on your product selection and how those products fare with your skin. And we'll go in more detail on that in your selection with Riemann products specifically, but typically you can understand that something isn't working if your skin is not improving from the otherwise dry and tight state. Now, on the opposite end, we have oily. After those 30 minutes, nothing on your skin, and you have just cleansed, your skin already has produced oil, almost an excessive amount. So it'll often feel greasy, it'll look or feel shiny, and it may be more acne prone. Now, of course, acne prone skin isn't always oily skin. Some individuals have dry and acne prone, but typically that oil and the overproduction of it causes a blockage or clogging of your pores, which creates comedones or those acne lesions. Now, furthermore, we have combination in which unfortunately you have both. And typically combination skin will appear with oily areas in your T-zone. So it'll be your forehead and your nose and drier areas on your cheeks, perhaps your chin. Sometimes your chin can also be included in those oilier areas. Now, if you have normal skin type, I am jealous of you because you essentially have a perfect balance. You have enough oil content, enough water content. Your skin feels just right, feels neither too dry nor too oily. And realistically, your skincare routine is just meant to continue that skin health you already perceive. Now, last but certainly not least, I wanted to define sensitive skin types here as well. What's crucial to understand is that an individual with sensitive skin can also have a variety of these other skin types. You can have dry and sensitive skin, oily and sensitive skin, etc. Now, what's also important about sensitive skin is that it really is often a self-perception. Now, of course, all of this is a self-perception. You are deciding which skin type you have, but specifically, Aveeno actually did a study in 2022, and they found that 71% of adults believed that they had sensitive skin. Now, they later went on to actually determine whether or not they had sensitive skin by placing an aggressor on the nasal labial folds, which are right here on the corner of your nose. And depending on how the skin inflamed is how they determined if your skin was sensitive or not. That doesn't matter. If you believe you have sensitive skin, we want to cater to that in your Remon routine. And so with that in mind, as I ask individuals what their skin types are to determine what Remon ritual is right for them, I almost always first ask, are you sensitive or not? If their answer is yes, then that immediately leads us to the dermatology routine. If they say no, then we have a bit more questions to go through. And so with that in mind, in a brief comparison between the two lines and their offerings, we of course have dermatology here and Radiansom as its opposite. Now, the dermatology line was designed for all skin types. Of course, to create products that are applicable to every single individual and their skin is very difficult and nearly impossible. But these products are designed not only with sensitive skin in mind, but with ingredients and gentle, nourishing platforms such that it does not exacerbate a variety of different skin issues and generally can be applicable to a majority of those skin types listed. Now, within the dermatology line, we're really focusing on hydration as a means of obtaining skin radiance. These products are going to be extremely high in our giant byungpul leaf content. And because of that giant byungpul leaf extract, which is itself a high water content extract, it's going to be very lightweight to the skin. And it's also going to be very quickly absorbing in kind. And with that in mind, as I had mentioned, when you ask an individual if they do have sensitive skin, turning towards that dermatology line first and foremost is often what I recommend because of that high concentration of the giant byungpul. And as we go through the individual ingredients and the individual routines, you will see why. But furthermore, if you are an individual that has dehydrated skin, which is what I had separated out from dry skin, that dehydrated skin needs water. And so that'll be satisfied with the dermatology line. But if they have dry skin, they need oil, that's going to come from the Radiansom routine. So on the opposite end, the Radiansom line is more specialized. It is our advanced line. And so it's specialized not only for mature skin, but for dry, normal, or combination skin types. What's key here, it is not as suitable for sensitive skin types. That's not to say that there may be unique individuals out there that do prefer the Radiansom 100 line and have sensitive skin, but oftentimes we want to set ourselves up or an individual up for success right off the bat. And so I typically recommend avoiding the Radiansom 100 line if an individual has sensitive skin. Now, that is not to say that this line is necessarily aggressive based on its ingredients alone. It is because of that liposomal nature, which creates a high oil load formulation. And that high oil load typically can be aggravating to more sensitive skin types. But these oils themselves are beautiful in performance for the skin types that can appreciate that. All of that said, because of that high oil load, it's much more emollient in its sensory experience and much more slowly absorbing as such. With that in mind, it's really focusing more on brightening of the skin, increasing the appearance of elasticity, and reducing the appearance of fine lines and wrinkles. Now, I know many individuals who immediately go to the Radiance 100 line because they are looking for those anti-aging claims. And so today, again, we'll go more in detail about why the dermatology line, if someone is segmented to that because they have sensitive skin, it can still satisfy those desires of reducing the appearance of fine lines or supporting the appearance of elasticity. But all of that said and done, when we really look at the two lines, while the dermatology line is suitable for majority of skin types, perhaps a little bit lacking for those that need oil, so the dry skin types, the Radiantsum line really is more focused on mature, dry, and perhaps normal in combination skin. Now, when we look at the ICD offerings overall, we always like to categorize them into the basic tenets of K-beauty, of cleansing, hydrating, and protecting. While K-beauty is fundamental in its approach to self-care, it doesn't need to be complex. And with an individual initially starting out with Rimon, perhaps someone who is not used to having multiple step routines, perhaps used to wash their face with hand soap and applied a cream and that was it, we want to make sure that they feel excited about the opportunity for a multi-step routine. So as long as you have a product or two that satisfies each of these tenets, that is a good skincare routine. And that goes even beyond K-beauty. But most importantly, with cleansing, hydrating, and protecting, both key lines satisfy these three tenets. The cleansing offerings within Rimon, the protection offerings within Rimon, realistically can be mixed and matched around the core lines of dermatology or of Radiance 100. Now we're going to go more in depth on these two lines themselves. And the first is the dermatology routine. Now, the dermatology products are our signature products. That's what we came to the market with, and they really have that high focus in that giant Byungpul leaf content. So specifically here, the booster is 89% just giant Byungpul leaf extract. The serum is 73% and the dermatology cream 67%. If many of you remember the profile of giant Byungpul or Centella asiatica, this ingredient is beautiful for sensitive skin types. In understanding that, we submitted these three products to German derma testing, which is a more stringent safety testing for applicability to sensitive skin types. With all of that in mind, that is typically why I recommend this line for anyone starting out with Rimon or those who simply aren't too sure their skin type or their skincare goals, because it truly is such a delicate way to dip their toes into the water. Furthermore, for those that know they have sensitive skin types, at least these three products give us the best chance of producing genuine results with their more volatile skin. Now, we often tout the giant Byungpul in these formulations, and previously it was simply that. It was giant Byungpul leaves extracted in the Jeju lava energy water and included into formulation. But now with the relaunch and the reformulation of these core products, the acknowledgement of giant Byungpul is a little bit more, and there's a little more behind that giant Byungpul. As many of you may know, there is now the giant Byungpul 3 solution. Now, this is not something you'll see on your ingredient list on the back of your products because you must list the INCI or scientific name of an ingredient on the outer packaging of a product. That is why you simply see Centella asiatica leaf water. But the giant Byungpul 3 solution is what's in that water. Now, the three parts of this solution are the extract itself, but now amino acids also pulled from the giant Byungpul, and we also have giant Byungpul exosomes. Now, what's unique about the giant Byungpul leaf extract, not only has the concentration increased in some of the products, both in the booster and in the cream, it has increased in concentration, but there is an increase in efficacy of this extract as well. So as you can see here, the giant Byungpul leaf extract in these new formulations have an increase in antioxidant efficacy by 34.5%. If you'll remember, the giant Byungpul already has 81% more antioxidant activity than standard Byungpul alone. So already we were performing greater than traditional extracts on the market, and now we were able to focus and hone in on that antioxidant activity with the giant Byungpul 3 solution. Furthermore, the inclusion of natural plant material in the form of exosomes greatly enhances not only the barrier support activity of these formulations, but the phytonutrient deposition, essentially the deposition of natural ingredients existing within the giant byungpul leaves. And last but certainly not least, the utilization of the giant byungpul amino acids give a variety of benefits to the skin. I actually just filmed a Remondes on amino acids, so stay tuned if you want to learn more. But amino acids have a variety of benefits for the skin. There are essentially 20 amino acids that are considered important for human health, while there are a variety more than those 20. But within the 20, there are 9 that are considered essential and 11 considered unessential. Now, or excuse me, non-essential. These 11 non-essential amino acids are very much essential, but they're naturally produced by the human body, versus the 9 essential amino acids must be supplemented. With that all in mind, the utilization of topical amino acids widely have benefits in not only antioxidant performance, but some of them also have the capabilities of maintaining skin hydration, which is crucial for the characteristic of the dermatology line. Now, specifically in the identification of the giant byungpul exosomes, I want to go in more depth on these because we are going to compare them to the use of liposomes in the Radiantsome 100 line. Incelsomes are what they are commonly known as within the Rheumon family because they are derived from our giant byungpul. They're not exosomes from another raw material supplier or from some other plant. They are Incelderm's creation. And so in the incelsomes and our use of them, we are allowing for the accurate deposition of key phytonutrients. But before we even get to that point, exosomes themselves in general are secondary metabolites in both plant and mammalian cells. And what's crucial is that they essentially facilitate intercellular communication. So discussion between the cells within both the human body and in plants as well. And they can help with the transfer of bioactive molecules. Now, as you can see here, in our specific use of giant Centella asiatica exosomes, or specifically incelsomes, not only do they help or reinforce the skin barrier, so to speak, but they also make it easier for the active components that they contain to be taken up by the cells. The reason this occurs is because of the structure of the exosomes, which is very similar to liposomes. So if you remember this image, just remember it when we go to the liposomes in a couple slides later. There is essentially what's known as a phospholipid bilayer. With this phospholipid bilayer, it's made up of phospholipids, and the phospholipids have a polar head and non-polar tails, and they orient to create unique environments. You have a unique environment here that is entirely non-polar or oil-loving, and it creates an internal environment that is entirely polar or water-loving. And specifically in the utilization of exosomes, you cannot manipulate them to have additional bioactive molecules within that polar environment. It simply is going to have the bioactive molecules and the phytonutrients that already come from the giant Centella asiatica. So with that and versus liposomes, you can kind of determine what goes in that environment, and you can even deposit ingredients within that lipid or oil-rich environment as well for accurate skin absorption. With exosomes, you are realistically appreciating what is innately part of the plant, the innate makeup of the exosomes from these plants. But what's crucial is not only does it help with the absorption of these phytonutrients from the giant byungpul, but the phospholipid nature of this molecule reinforces your skin barrier because that lipid itself is part of your skin barrier. And so it's reinforcing the tight packing of your skin cells that are surrounded by a lipid or oil soluble environment. Now, what's crucial about our utilization of these exosomes is that they are plentiful in formulation. So the booster is 1.3 billion per bottle, the serum 450 million, and the cream 500 million per bottle. So they're in abundance in formulation. But there is also so much more going on outside, not only the incelsomes, but outside of the giant byungpul extract itself. So I know that was a lot of information, very scientific information on exosomes, but the key thing to note about them is this tidbit here. that not only do they support your skin barrier, but they make it easier for the skin cells to take up whatever components are within the exosomes. And these components are natural molecules from the giant Centella asiatica. Now, when we finally come to appreciate the products within the dermatology line, we have that dermatology first package first and foremost, and containing both the booster and the serum. And as I had mentioned, while you have that giant Beyond 3 solution with all of its goodness, there are additional ingredients outside of the exosomes, outside of the amino acids and the extract. And one of those ingredients is NMN. Now, this is something we've talked about not only after we relaunched the products back on a TMI in March, but then I believe we did a couple remondes on them. But for those who are new, NMN and specifically also NAD+ are new and key ingredients within the anti-aging realm. And there is a lot of focus on them in oral supplementation. Now, NMN or nicotinamide mononucleotide is a derivative of niacinamide or vitamin B3 and a precursor to NAD+. Now, NAD+ is involved in a variety of cellular processes within the human body and even within cellular metabolism. But we lose roughly 50% of our NAD+ every 20 years. And of course, this varies from individual to individual and of their daily habits and their daily exposures. But what specifically happens is that the process that recycles NAD+ begins to break down. Now, in the topical application of NMN, of course, it is a precursor of NAD+, but it's not well explored if the NMN becomes NAD+. What's important, however, is that both Procter & Gamble and the American Academy of Dermatology have done separate studies to find that NMN in and of itself has profound benefits for the skin. Not only could it reduce the appearance of fine lines and wrinkles, it can increase skin hydration, increase skin clarity, and reduce the appearance of hyperpigmentation. And so, as I had mentioned towards the beginning when we had that comparison slide, if you have someone looking to perhaps reduce hyperpigmentation or reduce the appearance of fine lines and wrinkles, but they have sensitive skin, they won't be disappointed with the dermatology line specifically. The giant Byungpul itself has profound benefits in those categories, but now we also have NMN and we have additional key ingredients which we'll go through. And we even have the ergothioneine and carnosine in the dermatology cream, which are both potent antioxidants. But with that in mind, you can see listed here now that both the booster and the serum themselves have their own key third ingredient. Previously, with the booster and serum in the dermatology first package, you had the same key ingredients in both products, and they really only varied in their viscosity builders, making the serum a little bit more viscous, the booster water thin. But while they were important to utilize as a unit, as a set, it was hard to tell that story. And now with this, with the booster and serum having their own key third ingredients, you get that little addition to the story where each one also stands on its own as an important product, but together they work in perfect harmony. Now, for the booster, it has what's called Rejuviome R. So this is specifically an enzyme pulled from an extremophile. And extremophiles are traditionally uni to multicellular organisms living in extremely harsh conditions. Now, to survive in these harsh conditions, whether they're constantly exposed to UV rays or other, I'm not an expert on extremophiles, but if UV rays or extreme temperature, for example, is a great one. The enzymes are there to fix the daily DNA damage that occurs because of these exposures so that these extremophiles can continue to live. Now, in pulling that enzyme for human topical application, you have a similar benefit in that this enzyme can help repair those daily damages that occur from our daily exposures to UV rays, to pollution, and the list goes on. Furthermore, with this serum, its key ingredient is filerstin. And what's unique of filerstin is that it is a microbiome-based extract. It is focusing mainly on the balance of your skin microbiome, ensuring that that is healthy in its bacterial balance so that your skin can remain not only in protection with your skin barrier, but that that bacterial balance can ensure no irritant penetration, can also ensure daily maintenance of hydration. Your microbiome is crucial for the daily health of your skin. And so the filerstin helps essentially support that. Now, last but certainly not least, with the utilization of both the booster and the serum, we often recommend Boo. And I often get asked, why do we need to do that? Can we just do the booster and serum and go? Can we just do the booster and go? The reason we recommend to Boo is because both of these products are high in that giant Byungpul leaf extract, which itself is high in water content. And water's natural behavior is to evaporate. So we allow for that natural behavior of water to evaporate while still saturating your skin with the other beneficial ingredients. That is why we recommend complete layering of Boo, ensuring absorption between each step. And there are some people that keep going. They'll Boo. But on that note, of course, you end your dermatology routine with the dermatology cream. Still have that Byungpul and the NMN, but as I had mentioned, that third key ingredient for the cream is two ingredients. It is ergothioneine and carnosine, or are two ingredients, excuse me. So ergothioneine is thought to be a more potent antioxidant than CoQ10. Not only does it provide antioxidant protection to the skin, but it protects your skin's endogenous antioxidants, which are the antioxidants your skin already was producing. So it's profound in that protective category, so to speak. Carnosine is a naturally occurring dipeptide that has similar activity within antioxidant protection. Now, to compare on the alternate end, we have that Radiant Sun 100 routine. And so, as I had mentioned, the Radiant Sun line is our more advanced line. Not only is it categorized for mature skin, but it's perhaps categorized for more dry skin types. And then there are some normal and combination skin types that can also enjoy these formulations. The 100 in the name stands for 100% nanoliposomal. Every single ingredient is nanoliposomally encapsulated. Now, to do this, we ran the entirety of these formulations and their starting media through a microfluidizer processor. And I must stress that this application is extremely novel. It is very rare to find a 100% nanoliposomal formula at an attainable price point. We were able to do so and create one that was entirely stable as well because we have that processor in-house at Remon HQ. Now, with our utilization of the liposomes specifically, we are ensuring the enhanced absorption of these formulations and the targeted effects of the ingredients selected. Now, with liposomes themselves, they are very similar to exosomes in that they are microscopic spherical molecules with a phospholipid bilayer that creates not only a water-loving environment, but an oil-loving environment surrounding it. What's important is that liposomes are synthesized versus exosomes, which are naturally occurring. And because the liposomes are synthesized, you can kind of determine what the components are. And that allows for the direct effect of specific formulations based within ingredient selection. Now, as I mentioned, your skin is fantastic at what it is supposed to be doing, which is acting as a barrier. But sometimes that means that molecules are too large or they're the wrong polarity to accurately absorb into the skin. Now, specifically with our utilization of the microfluidizer processor, we are able to create nanoliposomes that not only enhance the absorption of the Radiant Sun 100 line, but if you're trying to reduce hyperpigmentation, for example, then it can bring an ingredient to the area of pigment within the skin, whether it's to the melanocytes, which are the cell types that create melanin or pigment, or to the melanin deposits of essentially overproduced melanin. So in our specific utilization of the liposomes, we are directing the orchestra here versus with the utilization of exosomes, we're enjoying the music of nature, if that's at all a good comparison to it. But specifically with our liposomes, with specifically our use of our liposomes, as I mentioned, we use the microfluidizer processor. And so the processor takes the beginning media. So here we would have essentially the Radiant Sun 100 toner, the Radiant Sun 100 cream, or the ampule, and we'll run it through the processor. And the processor functions on what's known as Bernoulli's principle, which is a physics principle. And it's quite complex and by no means you need to know it because I even do not enjoy physics. It was the one class I did not do well in college, but with the specific application of Bernoulli's principle, it predicts that essentially a rapid increase in velocity or speed will cause a rapid decrease in pressure and vice versa. A rapid increase or decrease in pressure can cause an increase or decrease in speed. So specifically here with the application of Bernoulli's principle, we are doing a rapid decrease in pressure to have a rapid increase in speed. So as the media is flowing through the microfluidizer processor, it's exposed to extremely high pressure. And when that pressure is rapidly reduced, it causes an extreme speed of these molecules through a specific chamber. And as it goes through this chamber, it is hitting itself, it is hitting specific geometries that were included in that chamber, and that causes the formation of liposomes. So what we get essentially are particles that are 1/350th the thickness of a human hair. Extremely, extremely small particles. And so with the utilization of our microfluidizer processor, we get to determine what's in the formula, what's creating these liposomes, and the stability of those liposomes, of course, is in part based on our own formula selection and creation. So with the Radiance 100 formulations and our use of our nanoliposomes, we have 5 main key ingredients we employ in all 3 products. And we do that again because we maximize the concept of layering, in which you are saturating your skin with key ingredients, but the products otherwise differ in their viscosity. So you go from the thinnest product being the toner to the thickest being the cream. Now, with the toner being the thinnest, you're going to apply that first. You're going to do a couple of pats into your skin. Your ampule is going to be next, and you'll massage the cream in last. But with the key ingredients, we start with RK Snowflake, which is there to maintain your skin's nourishment, but also it specifically is an antioxidant that is naturally derived. It is a plant extract. This Vita complex is a 5-vitamin complex. It's comprised of vitamin C, vitamin E, vitamin B3, vitamin B5, and vitamin P. And I always like to point that out because oftentimes individuals look towards the Radiance or the dermatology products and say, do you have a vitamin C serum or do you have a product high in vitamin C? Because we are a K-beauty brand, we want to make sure that we don't include such a photosensitive causing ingredient such as vitamin C at such a high concentration, but we still have it in formulation. And here is an example of that. The third key ingredient, collagenere, is another natural extract from Lupinus alba seed extract. And it again maintains specifically the dermal support of your skin, the appearance of elasticity, and the reduction in the appearance of fine lines and wrinkles. These last 2 ingredients are simply industry standards. They are beautiful in formulation. They in part support the stability of the liposomes, but they also bring in not only brightening activity, but antioxidant care as well. So with all of that said and done, when we come to the comparison of the 2 lines, I often do get asked, if the liposomes are helping the deposition of key ingredients that you chose and that perform for their skin, why is the dermatology line not also liposomal? Perhaps not 100%, but even to some extent. And when you consider the application of liposomes, there are a couple of things you have to keep in mind. That's not only texture and application, but ingredient compatibility. When considering the use of the liposomes, we really wanted to focus on the high water content of the dermatology line. It's quickly absorbing and it has many water-soluble actives like hyaluronic acid and niacinamide. As such, the liposomes are simply not necessary for the performance of these products. Water and the exosomes act as fantastic vehicles for the deposition of many ingredients in formulation. And the addition of liposomes would cause for a much heavier feeling to the skin and could even cause ingredient incompatibility. Versus with the Radiance line, because we already had the expectation of a liposomal nature, we chose mainly oil-soluble ingredients that were very complementary to the use of the nanoliposomes. Furthermore, in terms of ingredient compatibility specifically, some active ingredients work synergistically with liposomes, so they have that enhanced benefit because of the use of liposomes, versus others would only be hindered in their performance with the inclusion of those liposomes. So in our desire to make not only efficacious products, but robust formulations, we took all of this into consideration and found that the designs of both the dermatology line and the advanced routine were best the way they were. 100% liposomal for the Radiance 100 and mainly water rich with a giant byung pool as a key ingredient for the dermatology line. With all of that said and done, you may yourself or an individual have someone that wants to try both lines, or perhaps they've been on the dermatology routine both morning and night and they're ready to explore the Radiant Sun routine. The way to do this often we recommend is there's either two ways. And the first is what you see listed here, practicing the dermatology routine in the morning and the Radiant Sun or advanced remount ritual at night. Because those dermatology products are much more quickly absorbing because of that water-rich nature, they go very easily into the skin. You can go about your day, you can apply makeup, whatever you may have. And the Radiant Sun 100 routine at night gives that slowly absorbing, emollient, and almost luxurious experience that feels almost like a night treatment. The other opportunity is to pick a single product from the Radiant Sun routine and incorporate it after you boost say boo. I traditionally recommend choosing the Radiant Sun 100 Ampule because it's the easiest to include after you boost say boo. But if you do the essential Remon ritual, the signature Remon ritual, after you've boosted booed, you would apply either Radiant Sun toner or Radiant Sun ampule to your skin and finish with the dermatology cream. Of course, you could also swap the creams and just do the Radiant Sun 100 cream in place of the dermatology cream. There's a couple of ways in which you can go about your Remon ritual, which is the beauty in it, honestly, because a lot of skincare is based within the concept of personalization, of feeling like you have created the best routine for yourself, your skin health, and your skincare goals. So that is it for today's call. I know that was a little bit lengthy and quite deep on the science, but I do hope this helped you and supported you in your exploration of the products, the various offerings we have at Remon, not only for yourself, but also for your prospects as well. And so for those that perhaps did go to Product University and for those that didn't, there is actually an outline of this in the Product University files on the drive. It is our session 6. So if you found this to be useful, you are more than welcome to grab that paper just as a one-off and utilize it to determine how to guide individuals or yourself. But without further ado, I so appreciate you taking the time to join me on this Wednesday night. And without further ado, I will see you perhaps on the next Tradition Meets Innovation next month. See you then.
Yeah.